Welcome to CSBJ Radio. CSBJ Radio is the premier online business talk radio show in the Southeast. CSBJ proactively connects, informs, and engages its listeners in all aspects of small business. Discover the entrepreneur in you with CSBJ Radio. Now, here's your host, Greg Wilson.
Good morning and welcome into another edition of CSBJ Radio. I am your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connections Small Business Journal. You can find us online at www.connectionssbj.com. Again, that is www.connectionssbj.com. We literally use all aspects of social media from Facebook to Pinterest, as we often say. Our Facebook page specifically is Connections SBJ, facebook.com/Connections SBJ. Today is Friday, Good Friday, and it's a rainy Good Friday here in Columbus, Georgia. And we have an opportunity this morning to sit down with a good friend of mine, Nathaniel Sanderson. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing great, Greg. How about yourself?
Doing well. And Nathan, we've known each other for quite some time, known each other for quite a few years. I know you are a small business owner, but recently you made a decision, to run for a much-needed office here in the city of Columbus. So today we just want to take a few minutes and talk about that. And if you can, just do an introduction. I know you, of course, but if you can do an introduction for the listening audience, and we'll get right into it.
Right. Thank you for inviting me today, and good morning to your listening family out there. As he said, my name is Nate Sanderson, and I'm a candidate for the Muskogee County School Board citywide or countywide school board seat. Just for a little bit of background, I came to Columbus by way of the military. I came here in 1976 as a private, did my training here, and went off around the world a couple of times and got stationed back here in 1990 as a drill sergeant. I bought a home immediately and settled my family here. Went off and finished my career in the military, retired in 97. And after I got out of the military in 97, I went back to college. I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, a master's degree in human resource management, and I am currently a small business owner. I met you through insurance.
That's right.
Insurance small businesses, and that is my expertise, getting small business and families. I own a company called Fit Financial, and my slogan is, is your family financially fit? Yeah, and so that's what we do.
Very good. How long have you been in business with that?
I've actually been in, the name of the business has been for 3 years, but I started independent as an independent agent. I've been doing it for going on about 10 years now.
Right. And I remember during my first attempt at bat, if you will, with small business, you were definitely even selling the insurance and going after insuring small businesses then. Right. How important is that?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that if you think about one part of small business, you think about insuring your employees or providing some type of supplemental income for insurance for your employees, insuring their income and insuring just in case they get hurt, and they'll have some steady income. But when you really go back and pull back the layers, you really need to talk to the business owner and talk to them about different types of business ownership insurance. Oftentimes we insure our building, we insure so many other aspects of our business, but we don't insure the business ownership itself. And there are different types of insurance policies, especially if you are a married couple, and God forbid, but something happens to the owner. How does the family dissolve that business if it's necessary to dissolve the business? The family needs to have some type of policy in place so that they can have choices. Even when you don't have money, your choices are very limited. And if you get a business ownership policy, you can insure the owner. So at that time, if untimely death, that owner's family can either dissolve the business, they can continue the business, they can sell the business to someone else. But the key point is having the insurance in place so that you can continue to make decisions and not be forced into decisions. So that's one thing that I like to sit down and talk with business owners about.
Very good. And we're definitely going to have you talk to us a little bit more about that. But Today, the purpose behind today's podcast, quite honestly, is to talk about, your decision to run for a very important office, a much needed seat here in the city of Columbus. I mean, we have some issues that are ongoing and quite honestly need to be resolved. And I was looking at a picture that you had posted earlier, on Facebook. I mean, and it's on all of the the bandit signs that you have all across Columbus, where education is an investment, not an expense.
Yes.
Education is an investment, not an expense. And could we just talk about that a little bit? You're running for a citywide school board. Let's talk about that just a little bit. How did you come, to that decision, and what do you bring to the table?
Well, one of the reasons where that slogan comes from is when I was in the military, young private, I figured out that every school or everything that I did for myself was an investment in me, which in turn made me a better soldier, which in turn got me promoted and increased my bottom line. It got me more money.
Right.
So that slogan I believe in, education. When a child is educated, it's an investment, not only for the child but for the community. When the community invests in a child, it wants a return on that investment. And the return is that you get a quality citizen. You get a citizen that is well educated, able to compete in the current job market,
right,
and in turn becomes a productive tax-paying contributor to our economy. So education is an investment. It's more of the financial side is one thing, but also the human side. When we have a child that is educated and has that nurturing and all of the things that come with that child has hope.
Right.
And even the residual effects, one of the things that I'm more conscious of is how a lack of education affects a child.
Come on,
and when
right.
a child is not properly educated,
right,
and has no hope, then they turn to different types of activities that sometimes are not productive for the community.
Exactly. It makes them more of a liability than an asset to the community. That's right.
Exactly. And so even if a child is out in the community doing whatever they think that they should, if a child is out in the community and they are working towards being a productive citizen, then they become a great asset to our community. Not only our community, but our city, our country, our nation. We need more productive tax-paying citizens in our community.
Right. And I know that there's several, hot topics that are going on right now with with the school board. One of which, and there was, I guess, what would equate to a debate last night. Where the hot topic, quite honestly, I believe, are the no bid contracts. For the school board. Can you just give us, I guess, a more in depth? Because there are several people that maybe even in our listening audience that don't necessarily understand, what it takes, what a no-bid contract means. Can you just give us a little bit of insight on that?
Right. Okay, so as much as we know about the process, virtually every vendor has to bid for work needing to be done.
Right.
And it comes out in the form of a request for proposal. And normally what a business does is they develop a request for proposal called RFP. They put it out, and then vendors put in the proposal. And the best person for the job, not necessarily the cheapest bid, but the bid that comes in that can do the work and do it most efficiently, most economically, and with productivity. That person will normally get the bid.
Right.
And that's what we have. That's the process that we have in Muskogee County, except for our attorney fees.
Okay.
We have a company right now that has been providing legal advice to our school district for over 60 years.
Wow.
And for over these 60 years, they have not had to bid for their contract for that work.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say that they're doing a bad job. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying, if every other vendor has to bid to provide service to our school district, then we need to make it even across the board.
Right. Okay.
They need to bid too. And they may be the only company that can provide the service. But as you know, you're a business owner, and I'm a business owner, and the majority of your listening audience is a business owner. What business owner does not shop around to get the best quality at the best price?
We do. That's right.
It does not make sense to have this process going on. And so what we're saying is that my opponents in this race have not come out and definitively stated that they support ending the no bid process. They have not been crystal clear on that, and I want to be crystal clear on my answer to that. I believe that we should end the no bid process. We should make it to where that a vendor, all have to bid for those contracts.
Very good, very good. And what we'll do at this time, if you don't mind, we'll take just maybe a 30-second or a minute break here. And when we come back from break, I know that there's some other issues that are facing even our school board, and want to get just more insight on those issues. And again, your plans, once elected.
Okay.
Okay, we're back in the studio with Nathaniel Sanderson, and we again are sitting here again with a good friend of mine. He's running again for this citywide school board. And what previous work do you have? I know there are several people running, and several people have gotten involved with with running for public office. But I think a lot of times, people maybe run on a whim and not necessarily have even worked previously or even volunteered, to work. But what work have you done specifically with the school district that shows that you are in it for the long haul?
Right. Well, thanks for the question. My experience as a community servant uniquely prepares me for this position. I've been in the community. I've worked on these issues. For the last several years, I have appeared before the school board on some of the tough issues. Just to give you a few, I received a text one day, and it had the picture of a student that had received corporal punishment, and the contusions that were on that picture led me to call the school superintendent, then Dr. Phillips, and request a meeting with them to show them what I had received, along with the parent. And we met with Dr. Gibson, who was Dr. Phillips' assistant. And after we showed him what had happened to that child, this was on a Thursday. That Monday, they appeared before the school board, and they abolished corporal punishment in this school. And that was a direct result of the advocacy that we had done as a team, going in and talking to them, sitting down, talking to them, letting them know that corporal punishment of that magnitude was unacceptable.
Right.
And they agreed. And I have a few other examples. Got a call one day that one of our elementary schools was serving cold lunches. Then Dr. Susan Andrews, so this goes back about 4 or 5 years.
Quite a few years, that's right.
we sat down with her and discussed our concerns about children receiving cold lunches, and we were able to rectify that problem. We didn't have that. We solved that problem. Bullying. I've worked on bullying issues for a number of years, and received a call one day that a young man was being bullied at one of our middle schools, and he was getting ready to go before the judge because he had a violated school policy and defended himself. We made the necessary connections to ensure that this young man, instead of going and becoming part of the criminal justice system, we were able to talk to the judge and the DA and get them to consider the child, the family, the whole situation, the mitigating circumstances. And based on that, we were able to put that child into a mentoring program instead of putting them having them incarcerated. So these are the issues that I'm very passionate about. There was a recent shooting. We had a shooting. It was like 5 murders in the span of 5 days. And one of them that touched me very personally was a young man that I knew, I had mentored. He was about 10 or 11 years old. I was one of his counselors. And he got away from here, made it out of here safely, went off to Philadelphia and finished high school. Wanted to go to college, came back to Columbus State University to start the next year as a student at CSU. Well, he went out one night, just having fun, a 19-year-old, spoke to some girls. They didn't like it. The boys didn't like it, chased him down and shot him in the back of the head. That touched me very personally. The reason why that's important with education is because I believe that those young men, something failed them. And we have to start with, did our education system fail them? Now, I don't want to put disparagement on the education system and say that they were responsible for their actions. Those children were definitely responsible for their actions. But could we have saved those children with a proper education? What would have been the difference if that child or those young men would have had a proper education and had a good job, careers, had a future, a bright future? They may have just made a different choice. We don't know. But we have to make the effort to get rid of some of this senseless violence, and I think it begins with education. And that's why I say education is an investment, not an expense. Not an expense,
and that's so true. And even as I look back onto the education that I received, coming up, I was definitely, I'm a product of the Birmingham City Schools. However, there was a certain level of exposure, to different things within the classroom setting. Yes, I received an education, but there was an exposure to small business ownership. There was exposure to entrepreneurship. There was exposure to different programs in place. And I totally agree with you that education definitely is an investment and not an expense. So the team that you have, how do we get in contact with those that are in my listening audience? How do we get in contact with? I know that you have a Facebook page set up right now for your team, and it's facebook.com/team Nate Sanderson MCSD. Again, that is facebook.com/team Nate Sanderson. That's SANDERSON MCSD. Is there another way that we can get in contact with you as well?
I want to be accessible to everyone, and I have my cell phone number. I give it out everywhere. You're welcome to give me a call. My cell phone number is 706-593-5858. That's direct access to me. That's 706-593-5858. And I always tell people, give me a call. If I'm not busy, I would definitely answer the phone. And if you leave me a message, I will return your call if I'm not unable to answer the phone. So that's one way that you can get in contact with me. That's another way.
Okay, very, very good. So between the Facebook page and again the telephone number 706-593-5858, we are definitely doing our part to support the vision that you have, and we're going to continue to support you. Again, that's 706-593-5858. And also you can reach him via his Facebook page. Again, that is facebook.com Team Nate Sanderson MCSD.
And I would like to just leave everybody with one thing, and it's, as a military man, they always taught us about the mission.
Come on.
And with the mission,
Very good.
there's two things that a five paragraph operation order is nice, but in that 5-paragraph operation order, you have to know two things. You have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
That's right.
And what we're doing is we want people to go on April 28th, starting April 28th, early voting in Muskogee County. Go out and vote for Nate Sanderson. On the ballot, my full name would appear, Nathaniel Sanderson. That's early voting. It ends on May 16th. And then on May 20th is actual election day. So if you don't get a chance to do early voting, go out and vote on May 20th. Now that's the what. The why is because this election is about you and your family. This election is about a better, safer, more productive Columbus, Georgia. And it begins with investing in our children.
That's right.
It begins with having someone on the board that understands you and your issues. And I'm that person. I've been out in the community. I continue to be out in the community. And once elected, you will have great access to me, and I will continue to be your voice for your community.
Very good. Well said. Well said. And there are those that sometimes feel or think that they can't do anything about the current situation, and that's a hurtful thought. Because we can do something about the current situation. We can, make changes, and it starts at the polls.
Yes.
It starts at the polls. It starts and even ends at the polls sometimes in many cases. So let's get behind a good friend of mine, Nate Sanderson. Again, look for him. Again, he's already, you mentioned the early voting, which again takes place April 28th through May 16th. Again, that's early voting. And on May 20th, if you're unable to do the early voting, definitely get out on May the 20th and do voting as well in person, May 20th. And again, the full name will appear on the ballot. That's Nathaniel Sanderson, also known, those of us who know him very well, Nate Sanderson. Again, we appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you so much.
All right, not a problem.